Hello and welcome to the Azure Platform Ops channels. And today's talk is about GitHub workflow with Azure Biceps. So, how to design a pipeline in GitHub to test and validate a Bicep pipeline and approve it before the deployment. Because in some case, we want to be able to validate the deployment to be sure that what we are doing will not do any harms. So in this video, we show you how to configure Azure and GitHub to first test the Bicep template, perform a what if to see what will be deployed, and deploy the template after validating the what if result. So let's take a look. So I have here my setups. So the first thing when we want to perform this kind of operation, we need to have an identity. An identity will give you access to the Microsoft Azure environment, and especially where you want. So I choose to have a managed identity, and I choose to use a federated identity because it's the easiest way to connect to Azure. And the federated identity is also something very interesting because you don't have to share a secret. You just validate your GitHub environment for that. So the first thing to do is to create this managed identity. So let's create the managed identity. Up. So that will be very simple. The script that I show you will be shared also after in the videos. Then we need to create our resource groups. And of course, after the resource group is created, we need to assign the role. So I assign the role contributor to the managed identity so it can deploy things inside these resource groups. Takes some time. Now let's take a look at how we create the federated identity. So I have my managed identity. I just need these names and I need to give it a name. So Bicep demo. I need to give an environment demo, and I need to give also the repository names. So let's do that. Okay. And now we need, sorry, now we need to go to GitHub and to configure this environment. Environment in GitHub's, sorry, can be found in settings. So we have environment. So we will create the new environment. So the name is demo, very basic one. And we need to have some environment variables and secrets. So the secrets we need is first we need to have the tenant ID, the subscription ID where to deploy the things, and also the client ID of the managed identity. So let's take a look at the client ID. Okay, so let's do it. So the tenant ID. Oh, we need then the subscription ID. And then the client ID. Which is this value. So only this environment will be able to interact with Azure. So we add a variable This variable will be used to store the resource group names. It's not an obligation, but it's nice to have it here. So keep it like this. Okay, so we have our environment that is set up and working on it. Let's go to what we do next. We need to create our pipelines. So to create the pipelines, I need to go to folder .github/workflow, and I need to create a YAML thing. So I will call it demo.yaml, and I will start to copy here what I have. Up, sorry. So I have here, as you see, we have our workflow that will work on each time we push on the main branch. We need to give this permission to have this federated identity to work. And here we have one job with several steps. The first one is to do a checkout, and the second one is to do a login to Azure. Until now, it's very basic, but it doesn't do anything in Azure. Now, I'm sorry. Let's try to do our first task. Our first task is to test the Bicep files. So here I will use Azure Bicep lint to make sure that the field is correct and that doesn't have any error. So yes, and here I can start to send field to Azure. Let me do something. I have a previous task that was pending. So create lint, and I will push it to Azure. Okay, let's go back to our GitHub. So now in GitHub Action, you see that I have the create lint action that is started. So we just do some things. So now we are on the login to Azure. As you see, I use Azure CLI. Okay, so it's running the Azure CLI. So yes, everything was correct. So the script ran successfully. But what we can do is here is to add a bicep config files to customize the reaction of the linter. So for that, I will go to the folder where there is my bicep file. I will do bicep config JSON, and I will simply copy and paste what I have here. It's just a configuration of the bicep configs and also the linter to say if there is an error, for example, you can use the recent API, and if there is, for example, a number of days that is too big for it, you can have an error. We can have an error if the output contains secrets. So a very useful tool to use when you have a link, but not essential. Yes. The second part is to see what will be deployed with what if. What if simply we tell you what happened to the template if it will be deployed. What will be the resource that will be created or resource that will be deleted or updated. Can be very useful, especially in a complex environment, to see what will happen. So here I will put the steps and I will send a demo and we will see soon after what will happen. So let's go to GitHub. So we're still on the, yes. So you see my commit what if, so it's still logging to Azure. So now either the lint, okay, the lint was successful. Now I do the biceps what if with Azure CLI. I could have used also Azure PowerShell, but the lint is more powerful with Azure CLI. So we say that we will create a network, a virtual network in few subnets, which is exactly what we have in our biceps files right now. Okay, so the Azure CLI and what if is done. Now we need to have some kind of approval. We don't want to deploy anything without an approval. And for that, we need to create a new environment. And this new environment, we will call it deploy, and it will require a reviewer. So let's create this environment. So I will go to settings, environment, and new environments. So here, deploy, and here I will have deployment protection rules. So I need require reviewer. I will keep my name. Okay. I will not use this because I'm alone in the organization, and I save the protection rules. Okay. Now I will need to add the same environment variables as we had before. So let's see. Let's go back here because my environment variables are here. My tenant ID. My subscription ID. And the client ID. And of course, I need to add the resource groups names inside the variables, the environment variables. Okay, so this environment is configured, so we can start to use it. So let's go back here. So what we need to do now, because we have a new environment, we need to create a new federated identity because we use a new environment. So as I tell you, the federated identity works with environment. You can work with other properties in GitHub, but here I used environment. So I need to have a new environment. So let's go and copy this code. Okay, and now, as you see, we need another jobs that will use the deployment, the new environment deploy, and that will ask to wait for the Bicep what if jobs. So let's copy and paste this, put it in the YAML. Okay, each time I have a problem here. Yes, that's YAML. Let's commit the change. And let's go back to GitHub. So now I have my deploy. And you will see, so we have run Azure test and run Azure deploy, which are linked together. The second one need the first one to be finished. And we'll see once the Azure tests are finished, we will have to validate the process. It should not be long now. Let's see, where is it? Oh, it's almost finished. Okay, so now he asked me to review the deployment. So I click review the deployment. I will say, okay, we'll deploy. I can add a comment. So I prove it deploy. And now the Bicep template is being deployed in Azure using the identity we use. So I'll give you some references. I wrote an article in Dev2 about this process, and you can also go to use this repository. It's public, so you can have some insight on how it works. And I give you here some of my contact. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.